Welcome to Backboard Banter on the board with your hosts, Matt Middleton and Kevin Rayner, where the banter's as ferocious as that Colorado USC game, man. Man, Shador Sanders almost brought them back, but it wasn't enough. And Caleb Williams and the USC, Tigers, they roll out with that victory.
What could have been, what could have been, but hey, Primetime's still alive. They're doing okay. They probably wish they had that comeback. Would have been nice for them, but it is what it is in the end.
Hey man, I mean, a lot of people think USC is one of like the five best teams in the country. So Caleb Williams is, on the top of Mahomes Mountain on Nick's tiers on FS1. Yeah, he's a college kid and he's already better than all the NFL quarterbacks according to like one of the biggest sports pundits in the world. So yeah, man, big proclamations because like you just never know with these kids. Everyone thought Bryce Young was going to be better than C.J. Stroud, and look how well that's turned out for everyone.
People just want to have the right clip where they just say something and then they're absolutely right. A couple years down the line, they'll throw haymakers into the wind, right?
Absolutely, man. I mean, when there's no accountability for being as absolutely wrong as they are sometimes, I mean, I take big swings too.
Yeah, yeah, but
I
then
mean, we
I'm over
do.
here. I'm over here to rip on you, much like you're over here to rip on me. We make those decisions, but you got a victory this week, Matt. You got an NFL take right. You're back to the top of the mountain. We're happy for you.
Thanks, man. I'll probably throw it away with my take later, but we'll get to that. Week five in the NFL is pretty good. We're like almost or about a third of the way through the season, just under here.
Crazy.
And there are some really great games this week. I really think that the Sunday night football game everybody's excited about, obviously. Dallas versus the 49ers, the history, the rivalry, the fact that the 49ers are undefeated. Dallas should be undefeated, but they lost to the Cardinals, which is like such a Dallas move to do. Uh,
Yep.
so we'll see. It's like a battle of the league's best defenses. Can Brock Purdy really kind of take over and actually come through when the chips are down against a good team? The kid's undefeated in games that he started and finished, but a lot of people don't believe in him. Count me as one of those who kind of believes in him. I think he's definitely like a top 15 quarterback in the NFL. Like the guy was almost perfect last week, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's just the system." He's still got to throw the ball, 21 out of 22 times.
You gotta have a
So
little bit of hope at the end of the day, right?
he's got to have some talent. Like we've seen guys, absolutely implode with a lot of talent around them. I mean, heck, look at Joe Burrows and the talent that's around him right now. I mean, I know he has a calf injury, but he's not playing very well, and
Yeah,
he's got all the talent in the world, man.
they're in trouble. They're in trouble. Those fans are not happy.
Hey man, I mean, like they are the Cincinnati Bengals, and they've been good for the last two seasons. So like that's more than they've gotten in the last 40 years before that.
This
So
is this
hey,
is the
whatever.
classic struggle, right? You get good, you get up there, fans they can beat their chests, and sometimes there's the other part of your fan base that's like, guys, quiet down, please. We don't need this kind of attention right now.
Yeah, and Cincinnati fans, they deserve what they've gotten over the last few years. Who knows? I mean, they started off pretty poorly last year. I think they were 2-4 through the first six games. So like this isn't too much worse. 1-3. Maybe they'll pull it back. I do think though that like having an injured Joe Burrows is really kind of their major issues. But you're pulling me away from the games of the week here, Kevin. We're trying to keep
I'm
this
sorry.
this this
I'm
quick.
sorry.
Uh, Another really good one that I'm interested in watching is Philadelphia versus the Rams. The Rams have been a surprising team this year. Most people thought they were going to be pretty bad. Last year they were pretty bad, and after a year removed from the Super Bowl. But this kid Puka Nakua, man, he's really stepped up in Cooper Cup's absence. He's shattering like all rookie receiving records, and it's not even
Wild.
close. Yeah, this kid is just he's like Cooper Cup reincarnated. It's kind of wild that they nailed both of these draft picks at wide receiver.
Just works out
Yeah.
sometimes. And I gotta say, Matt, I'm proud of you. Nailed that name right there. Considering some of the butchery that you've done in the early days of this
Over the
podcast,
years.
you crushed it right there.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. But I'm interested to see if the Rams can actually hold up against the Eagles. And if the Eagles can actually get like a solid win under their belt. They've been kind of squeaking by lately, but hey, 4-0 is 4-0. I think this one's going to be a banger just because it always is. Baltimore, Pittsburgh, two defensive teams that just kind of beat up on each other. Though they've kind of gone in different directions. Baltimore's more of an offensive team now with Lamar Jackson, and Pittsburgh's still staying with that defense because Kenny Pickett, man, he's looked atrocious.
Yikes.
Um, yeah, I bought into the Kenny Pickett hype this summer, and I wish I had a refund. That's for sure. um, my Super Bowl pick against my other Super Bowl pick in Kansas City versus Minnesota. We'll see how that turns out. Kirk Cousins though has been playing so well. And the Kansas City Chiefs haven't. So I've got like hope there that like it's going to be a very competitive, close game. Justin Jefferson's always fun to watch. Gotta love that. And then Buffalo versus Jacksonville. Can Josh Allen beat the Prince overseas? That's going to be a big one. Prince is pretty good overseas. He did win there last week, and primed to do it again.
Some big games, some big names happening. You know, half of America's tuning in because, I mean, we went over it quickly, but the Kansas City Swifties? No, I won't go too
Sorry,
far
buddy.
into it. No, don't be sorry. I still can't believe that this massive world-changing event is happening because Taylor Swift is at football games. It's just amazing to see.
Bro, last week she brought Blake Lively, Hugh Jackman, and Ryan Reynolds. Like, pretty sick. Like, that's a sweet box to be in if you got a chance to be up there. So yeah,
Seriously.
it's kind of crazy what she's doing. I mean, she has more social media followers than the NFL does.
Yeah.
So it makes sense for the NFL to really lean into that kind of marketing. She has such a wide reach. You're going to bring in a ton of different fans, just like Dion has done for college football, bringing in all these new fans.
Yep.
She's going to do the same for football. So it's kind of a cool year, you know?
It's exciting to see, crossover mashups, all these events. Like I ain't gonna be against it. I got 11-year-old ski racers that are just like, wait, she's dating a football player? Their whole world is like shattered because of it. So it's fun to see the different effects of life that seem to be taken over by it.
Yeah, man, it's really cool to see the kind of crossover there. But you know what, man? I'm gonna give you my top 10. We haven't done it yet this year. I'm feeling good about it.
Okay.
Five weeks having watched quite a bit of the NFL. But we're gonna start at number 10 with a surprise team. Um, your boy Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think Baker's really proving that he is a starting quarterback in this league. I've always kind of thought he was. You don't get the Cleveland Browns to the playoffs after they won one out
Yeah.
of 30 games before you got there without being somewhat decent, right? Like, and I think he's good. I think he's got the best wide receivers he's ever had. And that team is rolling. That defense was good, a few years ago, and people expected it to continue to be good. They look like a real team, and good for Baker for getting his job back. They haven't really beat too many people, but they've got some quality wins on their schedule. So I'll slot them in at number 10, man. 3-1's got to do that for you.
It's number 10. You don't have to go big. You just have to show up at this point.
Dude, it was the hardest spot to put in because I was thinking Tennessee, I was thinking Pittsburgh, I was thinking Green Bay. No, I like Tampa Bay and what they're doing. I'm gonna put them there. Um, a team that most people have as the darling because of the Geno Smith stories, the Seattle Seahawks, and they're coming in at number 9, man, because they have been playing some really good ball of late. They absolutely dominated the Giants. Not that not everybody dominates the Giants, but it was a beatdown, and so I'll give Seattle credit for that and keep them at number 9. You gonna say something?
I feel bad for the Giants. I'm keeping myself down over here. We'll come back to it in a few weeks if it keeps up.
Hey, buddy, Saquon's on the fantasy team, so I need them to do something. And speaking about my fantasy team, my fantasy quarterback in Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens coming in hot at number 8. They've been kind of shaky, but they're winning. So I like what they're doing. I like Lamar Jackson. I think that they're gonna start getting better. They seem to be a wide receiver away. Like Rashad Bateman and Odell are just not it. Even though Zay Flowers is playing out of his mind. And they've got Mark Andrews, which is a great, great tight end. It gives you that league advantage. Um, Coming in at number 7, the Dallas Cowboys, man. When you lose to the Arizona Cardinals, like I can't
Yeah.
put you in the top or in the top 5 here. So they've got some really good quality wins. I mean, they also beat up on the Giants 40-0 in week 1. That defense has looked legit, kind of less so now that Trayvon Diggs is hurt. So that's why they're there, and that's why Detroit's actually ahead of them. Because I have more faith in Jared Goff and that offense with Amon-Ra St. Brown and David Montgomery over Jahmyr Gibbs, which is really weird for me. And that defense, Aiden Hutchinson should have been the number one overall pick last year. Jacksonville missed out, man. It's probably why they're not in the top 10 right now.
And that hurts for a young Jacksonville team to see that too, eh?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, they went off board with the Georgia kid. They definitely should have gone with Aiden Hutchinson if they weren't sold. And then like I think these five teams, they kind of are all jostling really, but they're clear separation from the league for me. So I'll go number five with the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, haven't been playing their best ball, but they're 4-0. So
They're
when you're
just
not playing your best and you're winning, like you'll click, you'll click. I've
they're
seen
just
Jalen Hurts play well.
they're just kind of always there at this point, you know. The Eagles, they're just kind of hovering around. They never really go away. So, you know, deservingly so. Yeah, yeah.
No, man, I think that they like through 4 games they've looked way worse than they were last year, but they're still 4-0. So what are you gonna do about that?
Yeah.
A team that lost their first game this weekend, Miami, coming in at number 4. I mean, that offense is legit. We'll see once they start playing some really good opponents, though, because Buffalo did handle them, and that's why Buffalo comes in at number 3 for me.
Yeah.
And then the two teams that most people would probably put in the Super Bowl, I've got Kansas City at number 2, and the San Francisco 49ers at number 1. When Christian McCaffrey is doing what he's doing, man, like he might be the league MVP this year, which is kind of nutty for a running back. I don't think it's happened since like 2012 when Adrian Peterson did it.
Wow.
So he's on pace to break all of the stats that Adrian Peterson put up that year. So yeah, he's good, man. San
Okay,
Francisco
okay.
49ers, Kansas City Chiefs, like they've got my respect from the years that they've been doing it. That's why, even Philadelphia, that's why they're in the top 5, even with their shaky play. So yeah, that's my top 10. I think it's pretty solid. I don't think it's going to change around much. I really don't think the NFL has that much shift this year.
You've
You?
laid it down. You're pretty confident. We'll check back in on it. I like what I see though, Matt. I like what I
Well,
see.
thanks, buddy. I appreciate you.
Hmm,
All right,
hmm.
now that we're done with football, I mean, basketball is back. They've
Dude,
opened up training camps. Have you been watching, the Masai press conferences, the Darko, the Scotty, the Pascal? I mean, give
you
me all that content, please.
you've got to listen to it right now because we're at this point. The Raptors are at a turning point. We're coming into the season with a lot of questions, but with a lot of new hope. And yeah, Masai kind of, he came out and he knocked around a little bit, talking about selfishness, talking about not playing the right way. And as the GM, he kind of has to, he has to lay down the law at this point because if it rinses and repeats to last season, this team is in a lot of trouble. But when you think about what else you're hearing from Darko, from Scotty, from the rest of this squad, the fact that they are going hard in their scrimmage games and they're having a lot of fun. The 1v1s, the videos that I've been seeing of people just shooting back and forth, like I'm a happy Raptors fan right now, Matt. I'm a happy fan for sure.
Yeah, man. No, I think that the content that's coming out is really good. I think the talk about we're going to be pretty much positionless 1 through 4 and play with that true center, which thank goodness that we actually have and Yak. So I think that it's gonna really help out our roster, and I think it's gonna be a good season, man. I don't know, you know how high the ceiling is, but seeing Scotty Barnes come back to camp, watching him kind of tower over Precious Achua, because
Yeah.
he's apparently 6'11", 240 now. Like, that is a big man. And watching him knock down the 14 threes the other day in a row, like, man's got a nice shot. Like, he could do some real damage in year 3, and I'm here for it, man. I think I was listening to him talk, and he talked about dominating in little spurts last year and trying to put it together for the whole game. So
Hmm.
if we can get that kind of Scotty, man, look out, league, because I think that
He's
like we could actually be a top 5 team in the East.
it would be crazy, and we definitely have the rubber band type of season where it could go one way or it could go another if it all comes together or not. And I think starting with Scotty is the right place to go because he is going to be that focal point. Yes, Pascal is still here. He's going to still do what he does, but everything we're hearing about where this roster is going to go and what Darko wants to do, it puts Scotty in the center of it all. And he looks big. He looks ready. The way he's talking about the rest of the squad, what he wants to do, like we know that he's had these feelings and these ways to want to play before, but I think that Darko's actually gonna unlock and enable that to happen. And so I'm looking forward to year three Scotty, and if he can really make the leap that he needs to, because we can't deny the fact that a sophomore slump happened for this guy. And whether or not it was all of the negative dynamic of what was going on in the team, or whether or not it was just his play, we have to admit that it happened. So he's got to step up, and I think he's ready for it.
No, man, I think that you nailed it. I think Scotty hasn't been allowed to play the game that he wants to play. I think he likes team basketball. He is a big facilitator. Um, we have had one of the lowest percentage of field goals that were assisted on, over the
Yeah,
last few years. Nick Nurse's offense is very, very static, very isolation heavy, and what it sounds like the complete opposite is what Darko's going to be doing this year. It's consistent ball movement. It's everybody taking shots. It's playing for one another to get the best shot, as opposed to hoping Siakam bails us out. And I think that's going to help unlock a little bit for Scotty. I think it's going to help unlock stuff for OG. And even a guy like Precious off the bench is going to get more of an opportunity to show what he can do. And I think that that's great for this roster. I think it's great for the development of these younger guys. And I'm here for it, man. If they can click, if we can get Precious back to 2 years ago after the All-Star break, Precious and
right.
Scotty and hard, like I have real good faith in this team to put up some decent numbers, man. And like that over under of 37 wins, like I think we should smash it if all goes right.
I mean, that's exactly it, right? And how many times when we're coming into a season after a bad season, we look at that over under and we're just like, what are they thinking? What are they doing right here? But no, there's a lot of ways for things to go, and you mentioned a lot of names that I think are going to have a lot of options. Like I look at Precious and Boucher as two of those options that can come into that 1 through 4 rotation on the lower end of things and really be beneficial if Scotty's having one of those playmaking games. And on the other hand, Jakob Pertl, to bring him back. Just lastly, like how good is it going to feel to have a veteran center presence like him over the next few years, because he's locked in and he wants to be here. Like as much as the trade is not a good trade in the end of the day, because we probably could have got him in the offseason, yada yada, let's not think about that. What he is going to provide as a potential leader, as a presence, as a gap, a connection point between what he has with Pascal and being an old vet technically for all of these young guys, I think is going to be fantastic. And I'm happy that Yak is still back for sure.
Yeah, and I think it also gives Koloko the opportunity to get more run in the G League, to watch how an NBA center handles his business on a day to day basis, and you know I think it's only beneficial to have him in the lineup. And I would agree that like especially if that pick ends up at like 7 and we we have to transfer that over, it's going to be really unfortunate. But
Yeah.
hey, that pick's in the 20s for Jakob Pertl. I mean, I think it's a pretty good deal.
Mhm.
Obviously, we're going with that youth movement, but hey, he's not. I don't even think he's 30 yet, so we got time. That's good.
And to
We
comment on
Gucci.
Koloko real quick as well, he apparently is out indefinitely right now with respiratory issues. He's still been struggling with that. So, we're sending all the best to that guy, hoping he does well and hoping he can have a safe, happy, healthy recovery with, whatever continues to ail him, because we like the guy. We want to see him continue, and we want to have him have that opportunity under Yak to build and grow. Which, I mean, everything we're hearing about Darko, it's fun because people will ask Darko the questions of youth development. And he's like, whoa, 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 it's development. It's not just for the youth. It's for everybody. It's for every guy on the roster. And to
Hmm.
see a coach that is willing to lean in and be a part of each and every player in whatever way that could potentially benefit them is kind of exciting. It is really cool to see how the players feel about Darko, about how they really like his energy and what he brings, and it gives me those good feelings, right? To have, obviously we have this butterfly effect going on, this new honeymoon phase, but I'm hoping that it's not just this honeymoon phase. I'm hoping that it's just a bunch of guys that are getting together with the right mindset and excited for a new opportunity. That's where I'm going.
Yeah, man, and like I think he's stressed throughout his press conference and to the media. It's a really long season, so he wants to utilize all of the guys. He doesn't want to wear them down, and so going to 10, 11 guys deep on a nightly basis is going to be a very, very welcome change for this team. It'll hopefully keep Siakam fresher, OG, Scotty, and those guys, so that when it comes to crunch time, that's when we can lock in and really beat teams. Because man, I still remember at the beginning of last year when there was all this hope and we wouldn't be playing well. But then for the last 5 minutes of the game, we'd lock
Yep.
in and we would dominate. Like I remember that Nets game early on, and we were, we lackadaisical. We weren't really playing. Last 5 minutes, we were down, 20, and we locked in and we almost beat them. And that was a Nets team that still had all that hope with KD, Kyrie, and James Harden. So it's a crazy, crazy idea. But I think this team could be good, man. I honestly, if we could get them to play 48 minutes of really solid team basketball, that's all that we're looking for. And I think that the development will just come and internal growth will just happen.
We're excited for it. We're looking at this preseason game against the Kings on Sunday. There's not going to be too much to take apart because again, preseason. Malachi Flynn went off in preseason. Let's not freak out. But it's going to be fun to see what could potentially happen. To see the type of options and lineups that Darko's going to make happen. Like we're in for a fun season. We're locked in and we're ready. That's about it for Raptors for me, Matt. You want to take a quick peek around the rest of the league and talk about a few things that have changed a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we can start with the trade that, well, the player that we knew was going to get traded immediately, Drew Holiday. And he goes to the Celtics, man. Apparently Miami put in a bid for him, but again lost out. So ending up in Boston, it's kind of a great replacement for Marcus Smart, who they lost over the summer, who they traded away. um, Losing Malcolm Brogdon and Rob Williams, Time Lord, like I think that for me is the biggest one is Time Lord because he might be their most important cog on defense, and it was really defense that got them to the championship 2 years ago. And like last year, you could see that leaning into the offense wasn't necessarily their bread and butter to getting there, and that's why they lost to Miami. So I thought that was a weird move.
I mean, everything you say is how I've felt the past few weeks when I think about, especially back to the Porzingis trade and now what they're doing. But there's a part of me that has that other side of it that I think is growing. The idea that Boston actually finally kind of did it. They moved their chips around, and they have on paper an insane lineup if it works out right with what Drew can provide as that point guard because he's better than Smart for sure. I think he
Yeah,
is. I think he is. His overall game, and the
yeah.
other side of the coin, Drew Holiday versus Damian Lillard. What an interesting matchup now. Like the Bucks definitely are not happy that Drew Holiday has gone to their biggest rival in the Celtics, and there are still question marks, right? Like the backcourt depth of the Celtics is one bad fall away from being non-existent, right? If Al
Hey,
and
Peyton
Chris,
Pritchard's pretty good.
sorry, I meant the front court. My apologies. I'm talking about
Sorry.
the big guys here. This is where I'm going on. That's my bad. But when you think about Al Horford and when you think about Kristaps, right? If both of those guys go
Class,
down,
Kristaps.
what do they really have at this point? And those guys, one of them is 37, and the other has a history of being injured. So I get where they're coming from, and if they can stay healthy and make it work, Boston is a scary team on paper. But I'm still with you in what you said, man. Losing the Williams, losing Marcus Smart, like they're in a weird
And
place,
Bogdan.
Boston, and Brogdon, yeah, definitely. So
Like those are like all players who played key minutes for them last year. And Kristaps is injury prone. He's also their only guy, I think, over 6'10" on the roster. I think Jason Tatum is like the other guy who's 6'10",
yeah,
and he's your star. He's a wing. So I think it'll be interesting. Maybe this fits more of Joe Mazzulla and Brad Stevens' philosophy for the team now
true.
since Ime's left, moving away from that, defense to offense. But again, I just, I would lean into what got me, a couple games away from an NBA championship.
Yeah,
If they hadn't imploded against Golden State, I think that they easily could have walked away with that championship. That pedigree just kind of wasn't there, and Golden State's shown through. So personally, I think it's more of a sideways move. I don't think it improves their roster all that much. I don't think it improves their chances. I think that like Milwaukee's still the clear favorite in the East to me,
yep.
but like it's Boston, then Philly, and then maybe the Cavs, kind of.
I
So
think
I think the
Drew.
rest of the East is open.
Yeah, I think Drew's gonna do great with Boston. I think
Oh
that
yeah.
it's going to be, he's a great fit, but there's the other side of the coin is the question mark. But yeah, man, training camps are open. These teams are showing up, players in Jersey. We're seeing all these great moments.
Let's
Seeing
go.
that picture of Damian Lillard surrounded by talent is pretty crazy. Honestly, he makes the joke, I've never been in a picture like this. It's like, well, this is what it looks like, man, to go all in for a championship. Like
Oh
I'm still super
jeez.
excited for him in the Bucks. I can't lie.
No, man. I think obviously that's the biggest move of the off season, and that's going to be really the championship tilter here. Um, it should be Milwaukee versus Denver. I think that should be the finals. But hey, some people will say LA, some people will say the Phoenix Suns, but I'm sticking probably Giannis versus Jokic, which is amazing. And also the fact that Lillard said that he came out and said that he was going to be the second best player on this team. Like he acknowledged that he's going to be on a team where they
Yep.
have a better player. That's great for the hierarchy. That's great for the system. Whether he truly believes that or is just saying it, like it doesn't matter. But it's good for the media to hear. It's good for the locker room internally. And at the end of the day, we all know who's going to close games, and Damian Lillard knows who's going to close the game if it's a tight game. It isn't Giannis. Sorry,
Right.
we all love Giannis, but it was Chris Middleton before him, and Chris Middleton is nowhere near the closer that Damian Lillard is. So yeah, it's going to be Dame Dollar at crunch time, and Giannis for the first 46.
It's exciting, and when you think about Bucks versus Denver, they really do have the two archetypes on each side of the best version of two star players that are so polar opposites in what they do, but can work so well together, and that's why they're probably both sitting on top of the mountain when we come to the end of this season. And Matt won't be surprised. I won't be surprised. Some pundits will be surprised, but that's just how the world works, and we will see.
Quick thing about Denver though is that I've never seen somebody so upset to come back to the NBA than I've seen Nikola Jokic. And also when they asked if he had a great summer and he goes, "No, it's probably the worst summer because I had to play 2.5 months longer." Like you're just like, bro, do you even like your job? Like now that he's won a championship, is he just gonna be like, yeah, fine, I'm done. Like I can retire. Nobody can talk crap to me.
It's definitely possible, and I love that my comment of Nikola Jokic will one day disappear. We will never see him again. They're gonna have to climb a mountain into the backcountry to bring this guy his. Hey, you've made the Hall of Fame. Like he's just a
Yeah.
guy who's really good at basketball who just wants to hang out with his horses. Like it's one of the greatest stories in sports. Honestly, it's so good.
Dude, it's so weird, but it's so funny. I love it. It's making so much money, $40 million, and it's a job for him. Like everybody else is like, I'm playing a kid's game for a living. I love it, and he's like, oh, work,
What am I doing? I don't get my. I
just
need
like
my
the
four
rest of
months.
us.
I need my 4 months of summer. Come on. Yeah. Okay, but last thing about training camp, I feel like we have to bring up Harden. Guy's looking pretty good. He showed up. He still wants out. I don't want to put too many words to it because at this point it doesn't matter. This is gonna be a saga.
Yeah,
I don't expect it to end anytime soon.
bye bye Harden. I don't like. Your career was not that impressive to me. I know you won scoring championships. I know you won MVPs, but they were all kind of grifter style, cheating the rules. So I'm happy. It doesn't
At,
matter to me.
at this point, I won't be surprised if he goes the way of Kemba. Right? Like just like at a certain point, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, you just what you want to do just can't work anymore. And it's a different version because obviously Kemba with injuries and this, but it's like
Yeah.
it's totally plausible that in 2 years no one's talking about James Harden in the NBA. It's totally possible.
No, absolutely, man. And it's kind of wild, man. He's definitely going to end up in the Hall of Fame. I just wish he wouldn't.
Okay, so last thing of the day, got up early. No, not actually early. They played it at 10 o'clock my time. There was basketball today, Matt, to open the Abu Dhabi games. Let's not get into that whole conversation, but we got some basketball. We got the Mavericks, we got the T-Wolves. It was a fun little event. Luka put in 25 points in 17 minutes. Like some stupid 3-point shots where he's just like, yeah, what do you want me to do? I'm Luka Doncic. Like
Better than
it was a fun experience.
better than Kyrie's 2 points in 13 minutes. Hey, man.
Looking at the box score, thinking about how at one point in the third quarter, this crowd was cheering for "We Want Kyrie." I'm thinking to myself, was this before or after he put in 2 points on terrible shooting? Because when I look at
One
that
of
box
six.
score, it don't look good for Kyrie.
No, man, he didn't have a great game, but Minnesota came through in the end, beat Dallas. Not that it like really matters. It's preseason, man. Just nice to see the boys get back out there. And if this is like any indication of what Luke is going to look like this year, I mean, we already know he's going to be an MVP candidate. If you have watched basketball in the past 3 years and you don't think Luka Doncic is an MVP candidate year in year out, you're crazy. You're
Yeah.
crazy.
And I will mention, I think Grant Williams looked really comfortable. He may have only shot 2 or 7 from three, but that's the only shots he took. But he played great defense. He looks like he's going to fit in well and going to be a useful piece that the Mavericks can absolutely use right now when you think about their situation. And on the Timberwolves side of things, like, I don't know what to say about this team. They're decent. They look okay, but I don't understand how Cat and Gobert are going to work in the long run.
Never.
Their age keeps going down. Gobert is great, but Cat is Cat a selfish player? And should I have asked that question earlier? Like, I just don't know, man. And Anthony Edwards, like, he really didn't even play in this game. So here we are.
Bro, Cat's gonna change the league when he's done retired. Everyone's gonna talk about how he changed the game. So don't. Personally, I trade Cat. I get like a ton of assets. I'm stuck with Gobert. I get a ton of assets. I build around Anthony Edwards and got a defensive center.
And
Perfect, done.
And it's not even a bad decision because the better choice beside Anthony Edwards is a player of the archetype of Rudy Gobert. So that
Yeah,
whole nother
it's
conversation.
more of
But
a defensive stalwart. Yeah, absolutely. You don't need the extra offense that Cat brings because Anthony Edwards is going to dominate that side of the ball anyways. So yeah, I mean, completely different conversation. We get into it, but
we got time. There's games around the corner. We're back into October. It's crazy. NBA basketball is like 20 something days away or 19 days away,
less.
maybe 20 days away actually. Either way, we're looking forward to it. We can't wait. I know I am. I'm jacked up for it.
Yeah, man. I mean, NHL season's starting on Wednesday, so hey, like we're back in the swing of things. It's awesome, and of course, the last preseason game Montreal played, they played against Toronto. They had to come back and beat them after being down 4-2, and 3-1. Just the
Yo,
way of the world.
I was
Montreal
I was
beating
telling
Toronto
Matt I was working a
feels
concert.
good.
Sound guy had the game on the screen. I got to listen to a concert while watching the Leafs once again lose. It was great. Uh, Last but not least, I'll mention the Jays absolutely fumbling out of the postseason.
Why? Why would you mention that?
I'm sorry, but it needs to be mentioned because I've heard a lot of people are very upset about this, and so I feel like
Vladimir
I need to
Guerrero
bring it
Jr.,
up.
what are you doing, buddy? Getting picked off with the bases like two on, two out. Like, and we need offense. Whatever, man. It's
Moving on.
yeah. Just give me your predictions.
All right, all right, all right. So basketball season, we got games back. I would feel wrong to not do a prediction. October 9th, we've got Wembenyama, we've got the Spurs, we've got OKC. Like you'll hear future down the road when I talk about a potential rookie of the year upset, I'm expecting Chet Holmgren to show up and put up more points than Wemby. I think he's going to be the surprise of that game. So I'm looking forward to it. I'll be tuned in for sure.
All right, man. I mean, like, he was supposed to be one of the rookies of the year last year. He did get hurt, so
Mm-hmm.
be a big time for him. We'll see. I like it. I like it. I'm gonna go back to the NFL because that's really where the games are happening, and I'm gonna take another shot at this, man. I'm
Ooh.
going Minnesota over Kansas City this weekend. I can feel it in my bones. I just know that Kansas City's been kind of sputtering. They didn't play well against the Jets. They've been squeaking by. Minnesota, they're going to overlook them, and I think Justin Jefferson's going to have a huge day with Kirk Cousins, and yeah, I'm going to take Minnesota over Kansas City.
The power of T Swift can
Please.
only exist for so long. We'll see, Matt. We will see.
Hey man, she's going to run into Kirk Cousins, and he's going to
All
gatify her.
right. Anything else this week, my friend?
No, man, I think you're good to wrap us up.
Perfect. Well, thanks everybody for being here. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook at The Board Sports. Like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Check out theboardsports.net for new episodes and blog posts.
And we'll talk to you next time.